The baby wouldn't stop crying. Passengers sighed, rolled their eyes, and turned away, but she leaned forward, smiled, and began to sing. Her soft voice trembled at first, then grew steady, filling the airplane cabin like a fragile beam of light in the dark. Within moments, the crying faded. The little boy's eyes fluttered shut in peace. Everyone stared. Even the man sitting beside the child. Tired eyes, loosened tie, and a look of surprise that didn't match his expensive suit, couldn't look away. He didn't know her name. She didn't know his story. But in that moment, that song would change both of their lives forever. Chapter 1, The Stranger's Song. The airplane hummed softly at 30,000 feet, but tension thickened the air. A baby's cries pierced through the cabin, desperate and unrelenting. People whispered complaints, pressed call buttons, and exchanged irritated glances. Among them sat Amara Khan, a 27-year-old teacher returning home from a long, failed attempt at making a life abroad. She looked worn out, her simple blue cardigan wrinkled, her hair pulled back in a loose bun, her eyes holding quiet exhaustion and sadness. The past year had been unkind, a broken engagement, the loss of her mother, and a job that barely paid enough to cover rent. Across the aisle, the crying baby's father, Ethan Reeves, 34, impeccably dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, looked equally helpless. His hands trembled as he tried to soothe his son, Noah, who couldn't have been more than 2 years old. Tiny fists waved in distress. Ethan whispered, bounced him gently, tried every trick in the book, but nothing worked. He was clearly used to boardrooms, not babies. Amara watched for a moment. Something about the child's cry, it wasn't just restlessness. It was grief, confusion. A sound she recognized too well. She hesitated, her heart pulling her toward them. Then, softly, she leaned across the aisle and said, "May I try?" Ethan blinked, startled. The stranger's voice was calm, warm. Unsure, he nodded. Amara reached out, her fingers brushing against Noah's tiny hand. The child looked up at her, eyes wet, red from tears, and whimpered softly. Amara smiled gently, humming under her breath. Then, as if by instinct, she began to sing, a lullaby her mother used to sing when she was small. A melody wrapped in tenderness and ache. Greater than, sleep, little one, the stars are kind tonight. Her voice wove through the cabin, soft as silk. One by one, passengers turned from annoyance to silence. Noah's cries slowed, then faded. His eyelids drooped. Ethan exhaled, as if the weight of the world had just lifted. When the boy finally slept against his chest, he looked at Amara as if seeing sunlight after months of rain. "Thank you," he whispered, voice cracking slightly. She smiled faintly. Mothers just know some songs that work. Something flickered in his expression, a flash of pain, a memory he quickly buried. His mother used to sing too, he murmured, almost to himself. For a moment, Amara didn't know what to say. But she saw it now, the loneliness in his eyes wasn't just exhaustion. It was loss. Hours later, when the plane landed, Amara thought that would be the end of it. Just a small act of kindness between strangers. She gathered her worn leather bag, preparing to disappear into the crowd. But when she stepped into the terminal, a familiar voice called out, "Miss." Wait. She turned. Ethan was standing there with Noah in his arms, looking uncertain, almost shy. "You left this," he said, holding out a small notebook she must have dropped. "Oh, thank you," she said, taking it back. He hesitated. "Can I buy you a coffee? Just to say thanks properly." It's been a long time since Noah slept that peacefully. Something about his tone, sincere, raw, made her agree. They sat in a quiet airport cafe. He told her he was a widower. His wife, Lily, had passed away 2 years ago during childbirth complications. Since then, raising Noah alone while managing his late father's billion-dollar company had been a constant struggle. His wealth had given him everything, except peace. Amara listened quietly, her eyes full of empathy. She didn't ask for details or pity him. Instead, she said, "You're doing better than you think." It was the first time in years anyone had told him that. Before they parted ways, Ethan asked softly, "Would you ever consider working as Noah's nanny? I know it's unusual to ask someone you just met, but you calmed him in seconds. And, I could use someone like you." Amara smiled sadly. "I'm not sure I'm what your world needs. But destiny had other plans." Chapter 2, The Billionaire's House and the Song That Healed. 2 weeks later, Amara found herself standing in front of a vast glass mansion on the outskirts of the city, modern, cold, breathtaking. She had accepted Ethan's offer after much hesitation, her teaching job had ended, and she needed a new start. As she entered, marble floors reflected sunlight through tall windows. Everything looked perfect, but it felt empty. Noah ran toward her, squealing in delight. "Amma," he called in his baby way. It melted her heart instantly. She lifted him up, his tiny arms wrapping around her neck. Ethan watched from the staircase, something softening in his eyes. Days turned into weeks. The house began to change, not in structure, but in spirit. The sound of laughter replaced silence. Amara sang while cooking, played with Noah in the garden, told bedtime stories that made him giggle. Even Ethan, who had once lived buried in spreadsheets and grief, started coming home earlier, drawn by the warmth returning to his home. One evening, after Noah had fallen asleep, Ethan found Amara sitting at the piano in the living room. Her fingers moved gently over the keys, playing the same lullaby from the plane. "That song," he said quietly, "it reminds me of her. My wife." Amara looked up. "I didn't mean to bring pain." He shook his head. "No, you brought peace." Their eyes met, two broken souls who had stopped believing in second chances. Silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken emotions. But neither crossed the line. Respect and kindness were all that existed, for now. Months passed. Noah grew happier, brighter. The staff adored Amara. The mansion no longer felt like a museum, it felt like home. Ethan found himself smiling more, laughing even. Yet beneath the surface, he battled guilt. He loved his late wife dearly, was it betrayal to feel something again? One rainy evening, everything came crashing back. Ethan's company faced a scandal, an ex-partner accused him of fraud, the media painted him as corrupt. Paparazzi camped outside his house. Noah got scared. Amara stood by him through it all, shielding Noah from the chaos, standing beside Ethan when everyone else doubted him. When he was finally cleared of all charges, Ethan realized something: Amara hadn't stayed because of his money. She stayed because she cared. Because she saw him as a man, not a billionaire. One night, as they tucked Noah into bed, Ethan whispered, "You know, I used to hate that song." Amara smiled. "And now?" He looked at her, eyes glistening. "Now it's the sound of hope." Tears filled her eyes as he gently took her hand. "Amara, you healed more than just my son. You healed me." The same lullaby began to play softly in the background, just as it had on that flight months ago.